I would highly recommend that if they were able to get their loved one in there, that I would say that it's really a home away from home um, in those very difficult last moments. It's a very serene place, but there's also opportunities for families to get together and celebrate different things, and the staff is awesome because I got to know all the nurses at the time, and the chaplain or the spiritual worker, the lady in the kitchen, or the people, like they rotated. So you get to meet like the team that works together, but then also the other group of volunteers that would do the gardening. So even when I would go and do my shift, I would always look and see how they changed it or what flowers are blooming. And just in the back part where the parking was, like just overlooking the city, so if people could get outside, so inside and outside, it just gave a beautiful feel for, I guess your last moments in life, and families were always welcomed and made like they felt at home. And it's nice, there's a space there, the guest room that people can rent out, and they can get the meal there if they don't want to leave. So yeah, I would say it's basically a home away from home. So to me, it was a very comforting feeling, and a lot of people who I spoke to as I was at reception, the families, they all said similar things, that they were just so grateful that they were able to have that support during that difficult time.
I mentioned it just before you turn the camera on, about a preconceived notion of what hospice is. And I think that is I don't know if that is societal or if that's just me. My dad was a very important part of my life. And losing him has been devastating for me, for sure. Or even the whole process of having cancer and leading up to that is awful. Hospice for him was a light, and for me, seeing that was, I can't even describe it. It was peace of mind, I guess, or the end is near, that it's coming. It's hard to watch, but I did not know, nor did he know, what hospice would give him in his end-of-life care. Not a clue. And he said it too. Him and I, like I said, we're very close, and we had a conversation while he was in Rosedale about the difference between being in hospital and being at Rosedale. The whole process is, I don't know, it's a phenomenal process. The intake, so when we had him and I, going back to him and I having that conversation, he's like, when you're in hospital, they're trying to help you live. Here they're trying to help you die. And it's a very different mentality. It's a very different way of thinking about care and giving care. When you're in a hospital and you're being, you have a roommate potentially, and more than likely you do, you're being woken up all of the time, it's noisy, they're taking vitals. And I was like, why are they taking my vitals? Like, we all know I'm dying, what my blood pressure is, at midnight really isn't gonna matter what it is at midnight, or if there was a difference at 4, it makes no difference. And just those, and it's like, that's a good point. Getting them up, they would, you need to walk because you need to get stronger. I don't need to get stronger because I'm dying. Just the whole, it shifts, and that's what it should be, and it's governed by the patient. It is no longer governed by protocol. And he said that, he's like, I get to decide. It's not, well, the nurse has to do this, 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 and this because that's in her protocol and that's on her sheet and that's what she has to do. That's not how it's governed. It's governed by the patient and what the patient wants to do, what the patient needs and when they need it. Breakfast isn't necessarily at 8, it can be at 11. All of those things make it, and he said, as much as a personal experience it can be, and a slightly clinical environment, because there still is meds and things that have to happen, but it's still as much of a personal experience as it can feel like a person. You're banned because you don't wear wristbands, you don't have a chart in your room, you don't have machines everywhere, you're not on an IV. There's so much about that gave my dad so much dignity, that you can't replace, the hospital can't give you that. It's because it's a shift in care. It's a shift in thinking about care.
When I think about Rosedale, when I first went for my interview with Marie, and I knew I would need to tell her my story, because she would ask me, why do you want to volunteer here? And I, worked myself up driving there, playing how I wasn't going to cry, but who knows, that's not going to happen. When I walked in the front door at Rosedale, and understand I've never been there before. I mean, I had traded emails, and I just knew I really wanted to see the right way to die. And I was hoping I'd be given an opportunity to at least volunteer in any capacity at Rosedale. And I remember walking through the front door going, wow, this is so peaceful. And you smell food cooking, like yummy food cooking, and you could hear laughter, people laughing. And I was like, I already knew the moment I walked through, this is the right place to die. And then Marie toured me through the hospice and the chapel part of the hospice, and I was just amazed at what they do and how they honor not only the person who's dying, but their family as well. And, to be frank with you, Kim, I was a little angry at first, because I was like, the boys and I could have had this. Sean's parents and brothers could have had this. But we had, imagine the complete opposite, because that's what we had. And then I went, okay, well, you can only be angry for so long about that. Just be grateful that there are places like Rosedale for families like me to give them that support as they end that journey of life with the person that they love. I called it the end of life home. And I was thinking about that even after I said it. My boys now are older, and both have had an opportunity to move away and then come home. And when you come home, you throw your bag down and you smell mom's food cooking, and there's just this sense of, I'm home. And you're relaxed, and you feel peace and more calm. And so I would call Rosedale, yes, the end of life home. You walk in and you feel peace, and you're more relaxed, and you smell the food, and you hear the laughter, and you know that your loved one, yourself, your family, even your friends, they're going to be supported, and there's a team there to do the heavy lifting so that you can, as crazy as this sounds, enjoy that last part of their journey.
Our society, we do sort of peripheral interactions with people, but in the Living with Cancer group, somebody could come in and say, I'm feeling rotten, I'm not happy today. The meetings generally started off with a hug. Not really applicable to these trying times, but in our society there's almost no physical contact between relative strangers. And here it was almost like a family gathering, giving your head and a big pat on the back or a hug. It's a different layer of interaction. Once you get over that, sort of initiation energy required to get into that. Much easier to open up. Then when you start hearing other people saying, I've got these problems or I've had that fun, then you realize that they're people. They're not walking cancer patients that are dying. They're people who are living. And it was often said in there that the only difference between the cancer patients and anybody else you will meet in the street is the cancer patients have a better idea that they're going to die soon. The person walking down the street can be run over by a car at the next intersection. No idea it's coming, but they're just as dead soon as a cancer patient.
I always find it kind of a fun place to kind of relax, build connections. We're all united by the loss of someone we deeply care about, but I wouldn't say it's usually with focus. It's not a counseling session. For instance, we're not talking about their loss and how they're feeling. It's more some activities to have fun, kind of be with people who are in a similar experience, but just kind of enjoy each other's company, have fun at movies, check in, see how everyone's doing around some difficult times. It's a very welcoming and open place that I feel safe in, so I think being able to kind of build those forts and have that kind of homey sense really displays that. And just being in that big room and everyone's in there, one of those big comfy chairs, and there's kind of blankets there that you can kind of sit on or have available, and it just feels like a very almost relaxed, laid back feeling to it that I definitely appreciate, and I think sets the group up for everyone else to be open.
I remember, like, my friends at school didn't really understand, like, what had happened to me. Like, none of them had gone through something like that. None of them kind of understood. But then, like, especially with the kids' camps here, I knew other kids had gone through the same kind of thing I did. And I remember feeling, like, comforted almost by the fact that I wasn't alone in that kind of thing. So that was really nice. And early on, I remember meeting Rob and passing the footballs around with him and getting to know him, going to the hikes and all that. I met Rob at a kids camp, and I remember, like, we were passing footballs around, and I really loved that. And then I remember one day after, well, I don't remember, my mom told me one day after that he asked if he could be like my big brother kind of thing. And since then we hung out, we'd go to movies, he gives me high fives after all the Sam's games that he played in. And, we're still really close now. He's really great. We just always took the time, like, he's always, if I want to text and just hang out of the blue, I can. Like, he's just always made himself available, and like, he didn't have to ask to be my big brother kind of thing. He didn't have to do that. He went out of his way to. And like, that makes me feel really special.